Hello and welcome to the NFL Corner Live. It is episode 6 of the NFL Corner. I am your host, Kieran from the Sports Corner, and this, as always, I'm joined by Will. Hello, Will.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Today we are going through free agency scenarios we'd like to see, the news as always, and as we've got a little bit of a week between free agency, we've decided to rank the 32 starting quarterbacks from last year and rank them in terms of who was the best and who was the worst. And we'll see where they end up. I'd like to thank all of you for joining last week as well. We got nice views on last week's video and I hope you can join us again. Welcome to this video. I've got 8 seconds to see out the intro, so I'm going to listen to it, and it goes a little bit like this. Perfect timing, there we go. Anyway, thank you very much. Welcome to the stream, everyone, and welcome to the video for people watching later, and welcome to Will as well. So Will, today, obviously we're going to talk about the 29 quarterback ranking. We've done this list together.
32 quarterback rankings.
We have, yeah, 32. We've done this list together. There was a few different opinions in some place. I'm not going to say which places, but we'll get to them when we get to them. You rate some people higher than I rate some people, but that's the joy of sport. We all have an opinion.
Different opinions.
We all have an opinion on sport. But as always, with the weekly stuff, we start with the NFL news, and we have quite a bit compared to last week. So we've got the first one, we've got Melvin Gordon of the Los Angeles Chargers is going to test free agency because Austin Eckler has signed a 4-year, $24.4 million deal with $15 million guaranteed. What do you think on this, Will? Because I think it's only fair that he might as well test free agency if they've already got Austin Eckler and he's not going to be the main running back.
Yeah, well, Austin Eckler was mainly the running back they used more last season.
Yeah.
Because Melvin Gordon obviously held out at the start of the season. So Austin Eckler started the season and pretty much finished the season. They give him more snaps than Melvin Gordon. And he's just a cheaper running back, really. Like Melvin Gordon, he was asking for a lot more money than Austin Eckler. And Austin Eckler's still a very good running back, good at running, good at receiving. So you don't need both. And Melvin Gordon's going to get paid in free agency. I think he might go to the Dolphins, someone like that, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we might as well see where he ends up, but I think, deserves to get paid, and if he might as well not sit behind Austin Eckler. There's no real need to.
And there's no point because the Chargers won't be able to afford it anyway.
No.
Because you can't sign both of them to contracts.
Definitely not. And next in the news, the Saints are placing a first-round tender on their backup quarterback to Drew Brees, Taysom Hill. You was explaining to me what a first-round tender was, because I'm new to this game. Do you want to explain to everyone else what the first-round tender is?
Yes, basically, if you place a first-round tender, it's kind of like it's based on restricted free agents. So if teams want Taysom Hill, they need to submit an offer sheet, and that offer can either be matched by the Saints. So whatever contract the other team's offered, the Saints can match that offer, and that's what contract they'll have. But if they decline it and they lose Taysom Hill, they will get a first-round pick from that team in return. Yeah. So you're either going to keep him or you're going to lose him and get a first-round pick. So it's a good way of keeping your restricted free agents.
Yeah, and you get a good enough deal for them if they are to leave.
Yeah, exactly. At least you get some compensation instead of just getting absolutely nothing for them, instead of just letting them walk in free agency.
And it makes sense because I think they do want Taysom. I think they want Taysom Hill to be the successor.
Taysom, definitely. Teddy Bridgewater's on. I think he's.
Well, he's leaving and he's in free agency. And when I saw him last season, he played against us, Taysom Hill, for a few snaps, and he played receiver as well because he caught a touchdown. So I think he's very versatile, and I think he's useful to have around.
I think he's a few years off from being the starting QB, consistently being a good QB, but they might have Drew for a couple more years yet, and then Taysom Hill should be ready by then.
Well, I think we're all, here on the NFL Corner anyway, we're quite substantially sure that Drew Brees will re-sign.
Yeah, it's looking that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was either going to be re-signed with the Saints or retire. He said he's not retiring, so I expect the Saints to
definitely
re-sign him.
But next up in the news, 3rd overall pick in last year's draft, Quinnen Williams, who obviously New York Jets was the 3rd overall pick last year. He's been arrested for criminal possession of a weapon in an airport trying to board a flight. Not much else we can really add to this.
The story's developing as we speak, so we don't know what's happening. I can't say
much. It's a shame if he does get charged and stuff because came in with a lot of hype, and I think he was the man that was talking about his mother who'd passed away, and she did it off of them, so that it was a nice story, and hopefully this doesn't progress to be something much more than what it's reported as right now.
Yeah, because he's got a lot of talent, and it would be a shame if he's going to miss games. So yeah, hopefully it turns out good, but you never know with the NFL that they can suspend a player based. It doesn't really matter what the situation is. If they want to suspend you, they're going to suspend you, no matter what the court say.
Exactly.
It's their league.
And next up, cornerback Josh Norman is signing for the Bills for a year. $6 million is guaranteed, and it could reach $8 million with some incentives. Next, Marshall Yonder of the Ravens has retired. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler, a possible Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think he's Hall of Famer.
So he retired this week. The Browns have released their linebacker, Christian Kirksey, due to injury problems, which is... Injuries hit all of us. We know we always question people that are coming into the league, like Tua and Laviska, but it affects people in the league as well.
Maybe a change of scenery is good for. Might be good for him, signing with another team, because he's a decent player, Christian Kirksey.
Yeah.
He's a solid linebacker. A lot of teams would like to have him. So I think he gets a decent deal in free agency, and like I said, I hope a change of scenery helps him, because I know my team, the Cowboys, signed Randall Cobb last off-season, and he was having a lot of injury issues with the Packers. Like, he wasn't playing a lot of games, but he signed for us, and he consistently was healthy throughout the season, had a really good season. So a change of scenery can help a player, but we'll have to see what happens with Christian Kirksey.
Christian Kirksey could test a few more blue tents at a different set of grounds. You never know. But 2 times Pro Bowler safety Rashad Jones is being released by the Dolphins. Makes sense, because I think they're going for a younger squad, which would make sense. Maybe they've got a safety in mind coming up with the draft.
Yeah, and he had a pretty big cap hit as well. So they've released some off money for free agency just by releasing him.
I was going to say, and the Dolphins have more than enough. They've got over $100 million in cap room, and they're just adding to it. It's going to be a big, before we move, it is going to be a big refresh for the Dolphins, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've got I think they've got 14 draft picks this year.
Wow.
5 in the first 2 rounds. So they're gonna have a big overall of the squad, and like you say, probably they've got the second most cap in free agency apart from the Colts. So they're gonna spend some money in free agency. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And we could see a completely different roster, and like if Tua's starting for them with some new weapons, and like I had them picking obviously Xavier McKinney, which I think would be a nice pick on the back end to replace Rashad Jones.
Yep.
But yeah, this could be a really, really good off-season for the Dolphins and change of fortunes.
Speaking of old players and former Pro Bowler, 2-time Pro Bowler cornerback Jonathan Joseph will enter free agency, as the Texans have mutually agreed to not re-sign him.
Yeah, and he's another player who's a bit old, but whatever team signs him is going to end up with a good cornerback, because he's another one of those players who's consistently a good cornerback, maybe a cornerback number 2 now due to his age, but still a very solid cornerback.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so. And as he's getting up there in age, they might just want a fresh set of legs, which it's more than fair enough. But that is the news for this week. We had a lot of news this week, and we probably will have more, especially next week, because next week will be an episode dedicated to free agency, which I've never experienced one, but from what I hear, it's absolutely crazy. So next week will be an episode dedicated completely to that. We'll be working on the fly late into Wednesday. To get ready for Thursday.
Monday is when the tampering period opens, so teams can start negotiating contracts with players on Monday. So by the time we do our next episode on Thursday, there's going to be tons of signings. The new league year starts next Wednesday, so that's when all the signings become official. That's when the trades go through. But players can start signing with new teams on Monday. So yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
So next week's episode will be dedicated to free agency. Last week's, if you haven't seen it already, was dedicated to the NFL draft, which we did last week as well.
Combine.
But this week is the free agency scenarios. We've put 5 intriguing free agency scenarios that we'd like to see, and the main man is on your screen right now, and that is Tom Brady. Interesting scenario here. Gets traded to his boyhood club.
Well, he would sign for him because he's a free agent, isn't he?
Well, yeah.
Sorry,
it's signed. No, it's signed for him. You're right.
Signed for him.
To boyhood club San Francisco 49ers, which leaves the man that led them to the Super Bowl, San Francisco, Jimmy G, in a bit of limbo. Now, this one, to me, is very strange, because there was reports of this, of sources were saying, I can't remember the name of the source, but we use JPA on Instagram, and they always source their content anyway, so give them a follow. I'm giving them a free shout out.
JPA football, yeah.
Yeah, but there was rumours now that Brady is being quite highly pursued by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that seems to be picking up steam. But there was one about the San Francisco 49ers, and because it's his boyhood club, do you think this holds a bit of weight rather than maybe going to the Bucs? Maybe.
I mean, the rumours just don't seem to be going away, do they? Every time people try to shoot the rumours down saying, no, it's not going to happen, another rumour surfaces that, the 49ers might want to be interested in signing him. The problem is they would have to find a way to get rid of Jimmy G because
Can't
Brady wants 30 million at least, and since he's been at the Patriots, he's always been underpaid. He's always had a smaller contract on purpose so the team could build a roster around him. That's why he's won so many Super Bowls. So yeah, they would have to find a way to get rid of Jimmy G. I don't know how they would do. Maybe a team would trade for him, but it's a tough one really because we all think Jimmy G he's a good QB, but he's not a great QB. He's not one of those guys that's going to take you over the edge.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at him purely as a quarterback without any other weapons, I don't think he's a Super Bowl quarterback.
No.
But he fits the system in San Francisco. Nice. He seems to be happy there. You know, some QBs might start feeling you've not got faith in them because all you do is run the ball. But, for example, we see Tannehill at the Titans and it works just fine during the playoffs. Yeah. And so, for me, do you think it's unfair on Garoppolo considering he did just lead his team to a Super Bowl?
I think it is, to be honest. I know people say he didn't have the best Super Bowl, but he still got them there. And you could say they played great defense, which they did, and their running backs were very, very good. But Jimmy G still had to make crucial throws in the regular season. You know, they were the first seed in the NFC, which is brilliant. Say they were finished they had like 3 wins last season or something. 2 wins.
They were the second
overall
pick, didn't they?
Yeah, and they go from the second overall pick to winning the NFC in terms of the seeding. It is a bit unfair, but we'll have to see how it goes. I mean, I've never felt like the 49ers trust Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback.
No.
And Brady, I know he's coming towards the end of his career, but he knows how to win, doesn't he? He knows how to win. And you give Brady that defense and those weapons, and Shanahan, who knows?
You never know. But I do like the fit with the Bucs, which we've not got down here because we kind of kept it one rumour per player. For example, but I like the idea of the Bucs because he's got the wide receivers, they've got the weapons, and Tampa Bay seem like a team that will mould around Brady. They'll let
him decide what players he wants on the roster, or they'll
let Brady lead the offense, which, I mean, he's done it for years now. Am I right in thinking that there was rumours that San Francisco were holding out for Kirk Cousins?
A few years ago, they were interested in Kirk Cousins.
I was going to say,
but they still might be interested because I know Kirk's a free agent after this season.
Yeah,
and Jimmy G's got 2 years left on his contract, so it's not out of the realms of possibility that Jimmy G could be leaving and Kirk could be the 49ers QB. But like you say, Kirk's a free agent next season, so we'll have to see what happens with Kirk because unless he has a stellar season, the Vikings might be looking to move on for him.
But it's not about Kirk. I think that is an interesting scenario. We'll see where Brady ends up. I think he's the big name heading into free agency this year.
Where do you think he actually ends up?
I think Tampa Bay now.
I think it is. I think Tampa Bay as well. Just because the rumours the last few days have been like the Bucs are going to go aggressively to try and get him, and they're going to go all out for him.
By the way, if you want to know where we predicted the free agency to go, I think we have to go back 3 or 4 episodes now, but we did do a free agency prediction. But next up on the scenarios is Chris Jones is going to be tagged by the Kansas City Chiefs, and then he's going to be traded to a division rival. You said the Las Vegas Raiders. Why?
I think the Raiders need defensive line help, and Chris Jones is a perfect fit. They've got the cap room. And I think I also said this on the free agency episode we did like a few weeks ago. I brought this up as a possibility that I thought Chris Jones would be tagged, and he is going to be franchise tagged. Well, he's already been given the franchise tag. And the Chiefs they don't have available cap room to pay everybody. They've still got to pay Mahomes as well, which a lot of people are forgetting about. He's gonna have a massive contract. It's going to be a record-setting contract. So you need to make sure you're saving cap room. And with the players they already have under contracts, I can't see them keeping Chris Jones, and I can't see him wanting to play on the franchise tag. He might do, might not, but players usually don't want to play on that franchise tag. And the Raiders, if they offer, maybe a first-round pick and a second-round pick, the Chiefs might be like, do we let him go? And the Raiders moving to Las Vegas, they need superstar players now on the team to bring the fans in. And I know it's a division rival, but I think he's a really, really good fit with the Raiders. I
was going to say, the fact that it's a division rival, do you think that makes it a little less likely?
Yeah, because the teams don't usually trade in the division. They don't usually trade in the conference. If a team in the AFC wants to trade away a player, they're going to try and send him to the AFC so they don't have to face him. But the Raiders might be able to give the best offer, really, because I know they've got extra picks from the Khalil Mack trade a few years ago. They've got pick 12 and pick 19 this year. So maybe if they offer him pick 19 and one of the seconds, who knows? Might take Chris Jones.
I mean, it seems like a decent idea. As you say, you've got to take into the fact that they are division rivals. You've also got to take into the fact that what other offers is Chris Jones going to get if he is franchise tagged, which seems to be the way it's going to go, I think. I think the franchise tag is going to be a thing. But it'd be interesting to see where he ends up. Our third interesting scenario is literally there is no teams involved. It's just where does Jadeveon Clowney end up? Because he is arguably one of the best stars on defence coming into this free agents. You've also got Shaq Barrett, who's amongst them, and another player that we've got coming up soon. But where is the best fit for Jadeveon Clowney? Because he wants to get paid. Seattle seem unwilling to offer him what he wants. And, I mean, he deserves to get paid. He's a fantastic... I mean, they listed him as an edge rusher before. I don't personally see him as that.
I don't think he's an edge rusher, but he's an outside linebacker that can blitz, but also make tackles and drop in coverage. So he's a useful player. Like I said, I've never really rated Clowney as just a pure pass rusher, but he's so versatile and he's so athletic. He's useful for any defense. There's rumours of the Colts might be interested, but I think you can link any free agent to the Colts just because of the amount of money they've got.
Yeah.
Do the Colts really want him? The Giants were a team that I heard are interested in Jadeveon Clowney, which would be interesting because the Giants are another team that's got like mid-level cap room.
Yeah.
But they also are in desperate need of defence. They're struggling on the defensive line and linebackers.
But they've got a high pick in the draft.
Yeah, they do.
So would they save that for thinking save the cap room because Clowney would take up a lot of that cap room?
He would. He wouldn't. I had them taking Isaiah Simmons in the draft, but I've seen the rumours that the Giants they like Mekhi Becton at 4. They like that offensive lineman because their offensive line is another weak point of the team.
Yeah.
So if they went Mekhi Becton, I won't be shocked. But I think Clowney said he wants to get paid, but he also wants to win. And for me, that's the sticking point. Which one does he want? Because he can't have both.
Yeah.
I don't think he can have both. I just don't think there's teams out there that are winning and they've got the cap room. The only team that comes to mind that have got sufficient cap room and are competing is the Texans. But the Texans just trade him away.
Yeah.
So he's not going to go back to the Texans.
I mean, the Colts, I know they're not a winning side, but they had an okay record last year.
Well, they made the playoffs with Andrew Luck. Not the season just gone, but the season before that.
Yeah.
So they won 10 games that season. And maybe if they get a new QB in, they could be competing. Maybe like a Jordan Love.
They're not a losing franchise,
no,
I wouldn't say.
They're a well-run franchise, I'd say.
I think that seems like a smarter fit if he wants to win rather than the Giants, because Giants coming off a really poor season. But again, if you want to be a winning team, you might have to sacrifice, and of course you stay with the Seattle Seahawks. Or do you want to get paid and sacrifice a couple wins and go with the Giants? Or I think the Colts might be a smart play, but that might just be because they've got so much cap room that they could buy all the free agents.
Yeah. The Colts are a better run franchise than the Giants, and they're going to probably win more games next season than the Giants. They've just got better. They've got better. I don't know how to say it.
Infrastructure?
Yeah, exactly. They've got better foundations. They've got a better offensive line.
Yeah.
Their defense is pretty good. They've got a decent young secondary. But yeah, we'll have to see where he ends up. I think it's either the Colts or the Giants, in my opinion. I can't see him going back to Seattle.
No, I don't think so now with all the things he said and stuff like that. But moving on to another man on the defensive end of the ball that is looking for a way out, and he's already said he wants it out. He's not staying no matter what. Or if he is, he's going to be very bloody unhappy. It's Yannick Ngakoue. He's leaving Jacksonville. He's already said it. He does not want to play for the Jaguars anymore. But where is he going? If you could have one, for example, if you were the Colts, Yannick or
Jadeveon.
I know they're different players, because I do see him as a pass rusher.
He's more of a pass rusher and Jadeveon's more of a linebacker, but they are commanding similar money. They both want about $22 million annually. I think he could end up somewhere like the Dolphins, who need pass rush help, and they've also got a lot of money.
And he can stay in Florida. He doesn't have to move too far, which we said in the draft was, it's not always a selling point because players move all the time to different places, but if you can make it easier on your family,
it's just kind of like an extra perk, isn't it, really?
Yeah, because if you've got a house in Jacksonville, I know America's a lot bigger than here, for example, but you can leave your family in Jacksonville and go to training if it only takes you a couple hours in the car. It might be a good point for them to take them, but then you look at the Bucs who are losing Shaq Barrett. He's another one that people might want. I think it's going to be picking and choosing who you want on your team. So do you think this is the best fit for the Dolphins, or do you think they can get the same in another player for maybe a little less money? Because I don't think Shaq Barrett's offering as much as he is he?
No, but Shaq Barrett is significantly older. This guy's only 24.
That is mental.
You know what I mean? It could be in the league for at least another 10 years.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I know he relies on his speed a lot, but over time he will learn to become a technically better pass rusher. But yeah, I think he's been in the league since 2016. He's got almost 40 sacks. So what's that? Just averaging just under 10 sacks a season, which is very good. And he's a disruptive player off the edge. I think the Dolphins would be a nice fit. And also, they're another team that you need cap room to sign this guy, because I think he's going to end up signing like a 5-year deal worth about $110 million. If he wants $22 million annually with about $70 million guaranteed. So he's going to want to get paid. And I think it's a very short list of teams that are going to want to sign
Yeah,
give him the money.
there's not that many teams that can afford this going forward, and
No.
I think you're only really looking at the Dolphins because I don't think the Colts need him personally, but I do think the Dolphins are the right fit, and as we say,
yeah.
I mean they need a lot of players. They're going to get a lot of players in the draft. They've got 5 draft picks, so you might as well bolster while you've got the free agency cap room as well, because all these new players coming in are signing like £4 million deals. You might as well splash big on a player that's still young, can still grow and become a more intelligent player.
Yeah.
Rather than just relying on your explosiveness, maybe a few jukes and a few moves.
I mean, it's always like in the draft, your entire draft class ends up being costing about 10 million in total, which is for about 7 or 8 players, which is a bargain. So you could say, the Dolphins should draft a pass rusher in the first round instead, and get a younger player and someone that's going to be a lot cheaper for the first 5 years of the contract. But you just don't know if they're going to be like this guy. I
was going to say, you might as well get someone improving who's... I know they're saying...
Could be a team leader as well.
Yeah, I know you're saying like they're going to be in the league for 5 years and it pays less, but this man's already been in the league. He's proven he's done it, and he's still young at the same time. He is literally the perfect combination.
It's not often players his age, his talent hit the open market, because teams, if they've got a player like him, usually lock him up.
I mean, Jacksonville don't want to let him go.
No,
I think it'd be fair to say that. I think it'd be fair to say that he doesn't want to let to go. They've also got Calais Campbell.
Yeah,
might be hitting.
He's locked up, but he's another player who's getting a bit older, and they might want to restructure his contract because it's pretty expensive for how old he is.
I was going to say they've got him as well, but that's enough about Yannick Ngakoue. We both pretty much think he's going to end up at the Dolphins, but as we say, the Dolphins have got so much cap room that there isn't many options for these big name players.
No.
And we are speaking of big name players, but both these big names are on one team for this fifth scenario, and that is the Titans' star men, Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry looks to be definitely staying with the Titans.
Yeah.
From what I've seen. And he deserves to get paid, probably going to reset the running back market. But after the way he carried them to a NFC Championship game, AFC Championship game, thoroughly deserves the money he's going to get. Now, Ryan Tannehill is an interesting one because he came in midway through the season for Marcus Mariota, and he's been rumoured that they don't want to re-sign him. They're going to let him test free agency. But they were another team that might have wanted Brady, which is interesting because we've already talked about 2 teams, and now this is a third.
I think Derrick Henry stays. I think they're giving the franchise tag, and then they try and work out the long-term deal. Because when you franchise tag a player, it doesn't mean that they've got to play on that franchise tag. Like once you franchise tag a player, you've got till July 15th to work out a long-term deal. So if you don't want the player to hit the open market, you can franchise tag him, and it buys you more time to work out a long-term deal. So I think that's what happens with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry does not leave the Titans. He probably might be a Titan for life. Tannehill, however, I don't know. It's just because you could say he's an 8-game wonder. Because let's be honest, he didn't turn the ball over, but he didn't really do anything special in the playoffs. It was all about that man, Derrick Henry, and that's the player you want to.
But he was consistent.
He was consistent. He was very consistent, but he didn't. I don't think he's the player that's going to change the game. Like if they went and got Tom Brady, I know he's good. He was former teammates with Mike Vrabel, their coach for the Patriots. If they went and got Brady, that's a leader. Brady, that's a good fit for Brady because they're another team that's got a youngish offensive line. Derrick Henry in the backfield, he can hand the ball off to him. Decent young weapons and a decent young defense. I can't see Tannehill staying with the Titans.
I think they've built, but you've got to also take into account they've built a nice partnership there.
Yeah,
the way they played it last year with some play action, they played really nice. And I mean, when Tannehill was asked to throw the ball, it worked apart from that game against Kansas City where he was forced to throw the ball more and they lost. You can read into that what you will. Was Kansas so good, or was it when you put him under pressure throwing the ball, he doesn't quite provide as well he is when he hands it off? They're both, respectable opinions, but I think they've built up a nice relationship. I'd like to see him stay, but I just don't think he will.
No, if I were Tannehill, I would like to stay because he struggled at the Dolphins for quite a while. He was a high pick, a lot of pressure. He didn't really fulfill his potential, but he's gone to the Titans and he seems like he's found the perfect fit. Like, seems to have settled him well, and he's played the best he has in all his career. He's the leading passer rating in the NFL this season. So if I were Tannehill, I'd look to stay, but I don't know if the Titans have mutual interest in bringing him back.
Where do you see him going? Because not every team is looking for a quarterback. Some of them are sorted for the draft. I think the Bengals are sorted in the draft. I think the Dolphins are sorted in the draft. You look a bit further down, we'll see where Jalen, Justin Herbert, and Jordan Love all end up. Who needs Tannehill?
There's so many teams out there that could do with Ryan Tannehill.
But are they just going to wait and see what happens in the draft?
They could do, and it's also what money is he demanding? How many years does he want?
Yeah.
It's just there's someone just give him a 1-year deal and say, you know what, Ryan, prove to us it wasn't a fluky season. Prove to us you can play consistently for a season. Then we'll look to give you the long-term deal. Who's going to take the chance on him?
But then what do the Titans do? Because they're left with Marcus Mariota. We're seeing that the Bucks are pursuing Brady. They're backed into a corner when Mariota's their starter, unless they draft a quarterback and they're late in the first round. They'll be using a first-round pick on possibly a second-round quarterback.
Possibly.
So that works horribly for the Titans.
It does, but I don't think Ryan Tannehill's going to fly off the market. Tom Brady might take it. There's rumours Tom Brady might take his time to decide where he wants to go. If he doesn't end up going to the Titans and he ends up going with the Bucks, Ryan Tannehill will probably still be on the market. Ryan Tannehill might not be happy that he was the second fiddle to Tom Brady. He was their second option, but if they got a chance to go back to the Titans, he probably would go back to the Titans. Whether even if they say, oh, we want to sign Tom Brady, but if they miss out on Brady, we'll go, oh, you know what, we'll have you, Ryan. We'll have you back, Ryan, even though you weren't even our priority to bring you. I
was going to say there is always that case of, well, you didn't want me the first time, so why do you want? Yeah, why do you want me now? But I guess you've got to maybe put that bitterness aside. But that for me, that's the most intriguing one because Tannehill is a good quarterback, maybe not a great quarterback because he's not proven it long enough. He wasn't that good at the Dolphins, so. You can always say, am I getting the Dolphins Tannehill or am I getting second half of the season championship game Tannehill?
You just don't know, do you? It's a risk. You've got someone's going to be rewarded or someone's going to pay the price for signing Tannehill this offseason, but we'll see how it goes. But speaking of Tannehill, this is the segue you've all been waiting for. We are going to rank all the starting quarterbacks from the 2019-20 season. We've got a few pictures on the screen there. Where will they end up? There's Deshaun, Patrick and Kyler Murray. But we are, of course, doing it like all good things do when it comes to list. We'll start with the worst at first because everyone wants to wait till I think if you are watching this video and you know a little bit about the NFL, you know who's coming first, but we won't spoil it, We won't spoil it. Jameis is at number 1. He's not, don't worry about that. At number 32 on our list it's Andy Dalton from the Cincinnati Bengals. There's a reason they're looking at Joe Burrow as the number 1 overall pick. Not all his fault. No.
I will give credit, but he did lead his team to a 2-14 season.
Mighty 2 wins.
Mighty 2 wins, 16 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. I'm going to defend him. He didn't have that many good weapons. He did have AJ Green though.
AJ Green is always injured though, to be fair.
He is always, he is. But Burrow said Burrow recognised how good he is because he said, as long as you keep him, I'm all down for it. But to me, a man who finishes 2-14 cannot not be named as the worst quarterback in the league.
Yeah, I think his time in Cincinnati's up.
Oh yeah.
Joe Burrow's going to come in and be the starter, and it's always been like Andy Dalton's always been one of those players. You've always thought, can he take a step forward? Can he become better than what he is? But he's never shown that he's able to do that. He's 0-6 in the playoffs, I think, under Marvin Lewis, something like that. Which is terrible. I think his run is cost in Cincinnati. Not all his fault, but. Like you said, 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. You're not winning games with a quarterback.
And the saying is, a team's only as good as a quarterback.
Exactly.
And this quarterback is 2-14. But I want to get your opinion on the rumours that the New England Patriots think this man has untapped potential, because we've been joking about it all week. There was reports that the Patriots might want Andy Dalton. I don't think it's as a starter.
I think they want him as like a bridge QB.
Yeah, a bridge QB, because he has untapped potential. Do you see untapped potential with Mr. Andy Dalton? Because personally, I don't.
No, but with Bill Belichick, you never know, because we've seen in the past he can turn an average QB into a very good QB.
I mean, he made a lanky sixth round pick?
6th round pick, yeah.
6th round pick into maybe arguably
199 overall pick. That's what Tom Brady was.
He was. Which is arguably the best QB
ever.
Your Mannings will have a problem, but you never know. But Andy Dalton, I apologise, my friend. You are the worst quarterback of the 2019-20 season.
Sorry, Andy.
Sorry, Andy. Who have we got at number 31? Will.
We've got Dwayne Haskins, rookie QB from the Redskins.
Not the best season for the Redskins, and trust me, this is not going in terms of record and in terms of where we listed them when we ranked the season, because I'm pretty sure I put the Redskins at second bottom. But when you go through Dwayne Haskins' numbers, it was an awful season.
Terrible. He played 9 games in total, so I don't think he started the season. I think Case Keenum started the season.
I'm familiar with Case Keenum.
Yeah, he led the Vikings to an NFC Championship game.
Miracle.
and then stunk up the joint against the Eagles. But, we'll move on from that. So 9 games in total, 1,365 yards, 7 TDs, 7 picks. He got sacked 29 times, and in those 9 games, he had a 2-7 record, and he had a rotten 26.4 QBR.
But I mean,
which is
he picked
terrible.
up as many wins in his games as Andy Dalton did in the whole season. So
yeah, you could say that.
Untapped potential. No, to be fair to Dwayne Haskins, it is his rookie season, isn't it?
It was his rookie season, yeah.
So, but then again, you look at how Kyler Murray did, who will also be on this list at some point. He did in his rookie season, Offensive Rookie of the Year. And you look at the Redskins now with Dwayne Haskins. Do you think they stick with him for this year, or do you think the jury's out on Dwayne Haskins? He's gone.
Well, it's always hard to judge a player by one season, especially when they've only been in the league, when he's only played 9 games. It's not like he's played a full season as a rookie. He's only played 9 games, and the Redskins roster, it's not the best, is it?
No.
Any QB is going to struggle under there unless you're Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, one of those top QBs. You're going to struggle playing for the Redskins because they don't have a very good roster, and they're not it's just not a well-run franchise. But we'll have to see, because Ron Rivera's the new head coach coming in from the Panthers.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera didn't pick this guy because he wasn't the Redskins coach back then. It was picked by Jay Gruden. So does he want to stick with a person he's not picked? Does he want his own guy? I've seen rumours they might want Tua, second overall pick, but we'll have to see how that goes. I think Chase Young's still the pick at 2, but those rumours are hotting up a bit. But Dwayne Haskins, yeah, it's a shame really, because he got drafted 15th overall, and I looked at that as a steal because his last season for Ohio State threw 50 touchdowns, which was the most touchdowns in the Big Ten Conference by a mile. But he just seemed to struggle really, and I don't know why it was. I think his footwork's a bit off, but he's a rookie. He'll learn. Maybe if he gets another shot, he might be a bit better.
Maybe they're bringing in an older.
Jared Goff was terrible in his first year. Second year, he was MVP candidate.
Maybe they're bringing a bridge QB, a little bit, someone a little bit older that can kind of. Do the Redskins look at Tannehill? Maybe. It's hard, but when it is these rookie players, you can't. I don't think you can take too much.
No, and especially when you've only played 9 games, and you're not exactly on a talented roster. It's very hard for a rookie to carry a team. Even though he was a first round pick, there was big expectations, but it is what it is. I think he will improve because I don't think he can get any worse.
No, I don't think they'll take to number 2. I think if they give up Chase Young, then the Lions have been absolutely gifted.
Yeah,
arguably the best player in the draft.
Yeah, in terms of taking away positional rankings, he's the best player in the draft by far. If the Lions got him, they'd be jumping for joy at 3.
Well,
steal.
I just don't. I think you stick with Dwayne Haskins another year and see what next year brings. Because if you end up being even worse, you get the first round pick and you take
Justin Fields or
Trevor Lawrence for in next year's draft. But then we'll move on to number 30. Another man who didn't play many games. He only played 8. It's Devlin Hodges, because we were torn with Mason Rudolph. Ben Roethlisberger, I think, played 1 game. And
0 touchdowns, 1 pick.
And Devlin Hodges, who played 8 games. We went with Devlin Hodges in the end, but not a good season, considering he played 8 games. He was 4-4 in them games, 5 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I mean, I'm glad he only played 8 games, because God knows what the numbers would have been if he played any more. So, 15 sacks. He had a QB rating of 71.4.
Yeah, well, the only reason he's above Dwayne, we've both said this, the only reason he's above Dwayne Haskins is because his team was in contention for the playoffs towards the end of the season, whereas Dwayne's team were out of the playoff contention by week 5.
I mean, when you look at his numbers, I don't know how. You honestly cannot...
defense and run the ball.
Yeah.
That's how you can put it towards.
You cannot put it towards any other thing, because you look at the other QBs he had, obviously Ben and... is it
Mason
Rudolph? Yeah. No one lit up the season for the Steelers at all. Yet, when it came to the final 2 games, they were still in with a shout. And I don't know if that's because the rest of the division was poor, or maybe there is something in running the ball. Because
their defense was very good, to be fair. They had Minka Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, and if they beat the Jets, I think they would have made the playoffs. So you lose out on a playoff spot because you lose to the Jets, Well,
we'll see where the Jets QB ends up eventually, but we'll move on to number 29, who is Will. It's not Will.
It's Kyle Allen.
It's Kyle Allen. It's not you, Will. It's
Panthers
Kyle Allen
QB
of the Panthers. I mean, not a good season for the Panthers, and not a good season for him either.
He threw for 3,322 yards. Only played 13 games, but he had 17 touchdowns, 16 picks. That's poor.
That is.
And he was 5-7 when he played and he had a 36.4 QBR.
I mean, to be fair though, didn't the Panthers finish 5-11?
Yeah, and he lost 8 straight. Well, I think he lost the last 8
So technically,
games.
he's the only quarterback that won under the Panthers.
Yeah.
So you know,
they were 5-3, and he was looking like a decent QB, but he just fell apart towards the end of the season and showed everyone why he's not starting.
To be fair though,
in the NFL.
as did the Panthers because they lost 8 games in a row.
That's poor.
So is it Cam Newton's the other one?
Cam Newton's, but he's had his injury problems the last few years now. Panthers, like, they'll be looking at QBs. If they like Jordan Love, they might take him because this guy's not the future.
Maybe they take Tannehill.
Maybe.
If they can get the cap space.
Maybe. But Cam Newton, I think people have given up on Cam Newton, which I think is a bit harsh because of his injuries. But never judge a guy when he's injured because he can't do anything about it. But he was an MVP, was Cam Newton. Led his team to the Super Bowl. Obviously, they got lost to the Broncos, but Cam Newton's maybe still got something left in the tank. And I know their new head coach, Matt Rule, said we're going to stick with Cam.
Yes,
see what he can do.
I did see that. So there won't be much playing time for Kyle next season.
No, I can't see it.
Depending on if Cam Newton can stay fit, which is a massive question mark. But again, not a good season for the Panthers. Not a good thing for Kyle. We were going to put Cam Newton on here, but he didn't play as many games, so we can't really judge that. You'll see that a bit more when we move forward. Some people haven't played as many games, but when they played well.
Yeah.
At 28, played every single game of the season, but finished 6-10. It's Baker Mayfield of the Cleveland Browns, the absolute dumpster fire that is the Cleveland Browns. They've got a new head coach in
your boy Kevin Stefanski.
My boy Kevin Stefanski. But Baker Mayfield played 22 touchdowns and 21 interceptions on the season in obviously 16 games. But for some reason they are big on Baker Mayfield still.
Yeah, well, he won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And he had 25 touchdowns, 7 picks, something like that. He had a really good season, and he made them relevant again because before this guy joined, they were by far the worst franchise in the NFL. They actually went 0-16 in one season, which is terrible. Obviously, don't win one game. It's like how, but Baker Mayfield, it's a sophomore slump, as many people like to say.
Do you think?
Yeah, I do think, but I think with Baker Mayfield, it's his temperament. He's coming to this season thinking, we've got. Do
you think it's ego?
Yeah,
because there's so many egos on that team.
Too many egos, and he's come into this. He almost got the Browns to the playoffs last season when many people didn't expect him to, and it was kind of like a magical run. And we're thinking, right, Baker Mayfield next season, he's going to be good. And he's kind of coming this season thinking he's all this and that, and he's going to be an MVP, and he just stunk up the joint. He was absolutely terrible. Look, the Browns weren't the best team. They didn't have a very good.
No, they weren't.
I don't think him and his head coach Freddie Kitchens ever got on, and he's now out the door. But we'll have to see how Baker bounces back because I think there is a player in Baker Mayfield. It's just I've always thought he had the talent. It's just the leadership. The leadership.
So we commented on a rumor last week on the show that OBJ was rumored if the trade deal is right. That's one ego out the door. Do you think he thrives when he's maybe the only ego in the locker room?
Possibly, but when you're a franchise QB, you need to trying to look over from being an ego and being a leader. Lead these guys, lead your receivers and your defense.
There's a fine line between confident and cocky.
Yeah, and I think he was too cocky this season.
Yeah, and obviously it comes back to bite sometimes. And I think overall, the reason he is so far down is maybe because of the drop off he had. Because we've seen how good he can be. It's like having the good, the bad, and maybe next year we'll get the ugly of Baker Mayfield. You never know. But for example, you look at the Browns this year, 6-10, uninspiring. You look at his touchdown interceptions, uninspiring. QB rating, uninspiring. Everything around the Browns, I'm going to repeat, uninspiring. So it'd be interesting to see next year if we can bump up the... Because, of course, the Sports Corner rankings is very important to players like Baker Mayfield. So he wants to be up there next year.
He's probably tuning in right now.
He is. He's absolutely fuming. But I do think next year it'll be interesting to see.
Kevin Stefanski. I want to see how Kevin Stefanski works with Baker Mayfield. See if they can work well together. Because if they can, and it brings Baker Mayfield's rookie season confidence back, and he grows up a bit. Yeah. Year 3, bounce back year maybe.
It's his first head coaching job, but it's also he's worked as an offensive coordinator for a long period of time. So it's very interesting that maybe he'll be able to get the best out of him because he's worked on players on offense and he can decide what's best for Baker and what fits Baker's style.
See, the quarterback head coaching partnership is important. If you've got a good relationship with your QB,
look at Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What a partnership that is, and they love each other. They love each other and they nurture each other in terms of when I think it was in the Super Bowl and Patrick threw like an interception. You see him on the bench just tapping away his knees, going, "You're all right, you get him next." And it's good to see.
To have confidence in your QB.
Oh, definitely. And
Yeah.
There's no better QB to have confidence in than Pat Mahomes. Baker's not at that level yet. Maybe next season.
Maybe.
Under Kevin Stefanski. Number 27 in our rankings is Philip Rivers. What's your opinions, Will? Obviously leaving the Chargers now.
Yeah, I think it's coming towards the end of the road for Rivers. He's had a great career, but he's struggling out there. I don't know what it is. Last season he was really good. Chargers got to the playoffs, but this season he's just showing his age, really, in my opinion. He threw for 4,600 yards, which is still pretty good, but 23 touchdowns to 20 interceptions. Like I said, you're not winning games. You're not going to the playoffs with a QB having those stats. 5-11 record, 48.6 QB rating. Yeah, I think he's already said he's leaving the Chargers. We'll see what he can do, but
it's time to move
one
on.
more year max in the league, I think, for Philip Rivers.
I don't know where he goes though. I don't know who wants him.
The Colts may be rumoured as it could be rumoured as a bridge QB for Jordan Love because they're still not sold on Brissett, but we'll have to see what happens with Philip Rivers. But yeah, I doubt.
I don't know whether that's it.
I mean, it's very hard to grade Philip Rivers because it's not like he's got a future ahead of him.
No.
We know what Phil Rivers is, and this could be his last season. And if it is, fair enough.
It's a bit harsh putting him this far low, but he had an awful season. And
He did.
He's just getting older, and as you get older, age does play a part, and sometimes you've just kind of got to go, that's it for me now, ride off into the sunset. But maybe he gives it one more year as a starter to help some younger guys get better.
Get that last contract, Phil.
Yeah, go on. Buy your retirement home in Florida or something. Go on, lad. But no, that's enough on Philip Rivers. I think he's fair enough that he's down this low in the list. Not a great season for the Chargers, and obviously that's his last season with them. Number 26 is Sam Darnold. You were telling me the other day he suffered with something called mono.
Mono, yeah, it's like an illness that some people get in college. So when he got it, people were shocked. I think he missed about 3 or 4 weeks with it, and obviously
This season or in college?
No, this season. But it's like an illness that people say they get in college. I don't know why, but yeah, it was a very shocking illness that he got. Obviously, his first game back was him torching my Cowboys.
What a return!
But yeah.
But no, overall a decent season, really, if you think about it. Because I actually remember saying the Jets are the best bad team in football because they weren't a good team last year. What were the record? Were they
7-9?
7-9, yeah. And under Darnold, they were 7-6. They didn't win a game without him.
No.
So that proves how important he was. He was sacked 33 times and he did fumble 6 times, 19 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. If you look at it overall, he wasn't bad. He wasn't the reason they were losing, I don't think. If you look at when without him, they didn't win a game compared to when he came back and they managed to go 7-6 if he was the only one in.
Yeah, and they definitely spent a lot in free agency last season, the Jets. Well, like they do every single free agency. And he's got talent around him. He's got Le'Veon Bell, Robbie Anderson, Quincy Nunn, obviously. But
is it Jair Alexander? I know he plays for Packers.
Plays for Packers, yeah, cornerback. But I'm interested to see Sam Darnold's year 3 because he was picked 3rd overall. Big expectations again. Rookie season was decent. And we kind of said, well, maybe next year he improves a bit. But this season, he's kind of stayed at that average level. Next season, I want to see if Sam Darnold can kick on and become a really good QB. Maybe. I think he's either going to be there 5 years. So they're going to use as long as they can on his contract.
Yeah.
Whether he's a backup, whether he starts, we don't know. But yeah, I want to see how Sam Darnold does next season because I think next season could be a season where he can show everyone his talent and kick on as a quarterback because he's got talent. There's no doubt about it. He has got talent, but it's a tough one for Sam Darnold because 3rd overall pick and he's underwhelmed in my opinion so far in the league. He has underwhelmed.
If you look at it, obviously the illness didn't help, and it'd be interesting to see what the record would have been had he played every single game in the season, which we will obviously see hopefully next year. Injuries being nice to him, it's fair to say. But I think he'll be ready to take a little bit of a next step. It'll be interesting. You've got to also say what's around him.
I don't like that coach. I don't think Adam Gase is a good fit with Sam Darnold.
Do you not think?
I
think they've got a good team.
They've got when you look at the roster, they've got some pretty good players. But Adam Gase, I just don't rate him as a coach. I think if you get a better offensive mind in there, a guy that's going to take on the younger quarterback and help him run the offense that fits his abilities more.
Yeah,
he could definitely thrive a lot more. But yeah,
Maybe they need a change of coach.
Maybe.
I think it, because to be fair, as we say though, 7-9 is not a bad year.
No,
it's not an awful year. I know it's not 0.500, like it's not middle of the road, but for the way the Jets were last year, they weren't a very good team last year.
No.
But they had good players in that team. And Sam Darnold, when he played, he did win games, and technically he was positive. But that's enough about Sam Darnold. We'll hopefully see the best of him next year, but he's number 26 on the list. We've now got number 25, and that is Ryan Fitzmagic.
What a guy.
What a guy and what a beard.
Yeah.
What a beard.
Like I said, you don't know what you're going to get Ryan Fitzpatrick, whether he's going to be a Hall of Famer or a useless QB. It's whatever he likes, whatever he wants to play in 1 week. That's how he'll play. But this season he had 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He played 15 games, 5-10 record, 66.5 QBR. It is what it is, Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's never going to take you to the playoffs, but he will win you some games here and there just because of how he can turn into a superstar quarterback here and there.
Yeah, he had a worse record than some of the quarterbacks. Like he had a worse record than Sam Darnold. He had a worse record than Baker, I think. Did he go 5-11? Or 6-10?
He had a 5-11 record, but he only played 5-10 record. But he played 15 games.
Fair enough then.
They went 5-11 in total, the Dolphins.
They were worse than the Cleveland Browns then. But for me, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick had moments in the season where, I mean, the one I've got pictured here against the Patriots, you lead your team to beating the Patriots and you knock them out of getting a bye. I mean, that is when you need a QB to step up. And I think for as not useless as Fitzpatrick is for maybe 11 weeks in a season, 5 weeks, he will give you the world.
He will do.
And not a bad season. I know it sounds stupid because...
Well, you got to look at the team he's on as well. The Dolphins, they were pretty much chat tank, and he's winning games against the Patriots. So
I think that is what we took into consideration when we made this list was, I mean, you look at teams that probably weren't looking to tank. Browns, prime example, because they just traded OBJ and they were getting big players, big names to move forward as a franchise. Yet you've got the Dolphins out here getting almost the same record, and they were supposedly tanking for draft picks.
Trying to lose. They're trading all the way the best players that are still winning games. Don't make a lot of sense, does it really?
Well, a lot of that's down to him himself, and it's magical Fitzpatrick. But next up on the list is a man who not so magical this year, more very, very average. It's Mitchell Trubisky. He went 8-7 when he was playing this season. 17 touchdowns, 10 interceptions for the Chicago Bears, 63% completion percentage. He's just very average.
His middle name's average.
Yeah, he's just very average. You say there is a more average player coming up.
No, I don't think he's average. I think he's just not as like... He's one of those players who's been around ages and he just kind of does pretty well throughout a season.
Yeah.
But, Mitchell Trubisky... I just don't rate the guy.
The Bears see something in him because they are sticking with him and they defend him through thick and thin.
I think that's their pride though. They want to prove to everyone that we picked him second overall. He's going to be a good quarterback. But when is the time to say, you know what, he ain't actually that good? We need to start looking for better QBs because he's not that good. And I'm not being harsh, but second overall pick. And what was his stats again? He
had 17 touchdowns for 10 interceptions, and his record when playing was 8-7.
Yeah, so
he only missed one game.
Yeah, like last season he was all right under new head coach Matt Nagy, but that was because the defense was dominating and Mitchell Trubisky was kind of coming along for the ride. But you've seen when he needs to make big throws and win the games, I just don't think he's got it in him.
No, and again for the Bears, they were average. They finished 8-8. I mean that was just an average year, and I think for Trubisky to reach the next level, should I say, he needs to step up his game, and maybe it's an agenda for him that he needs to prove to other people that I'm the QB that the Bears are saying I am, because there's got to be a time when you've got to repay faith in the guys that are showing faith in you. And I think that's yet to come with Mitch Trubisky. But we'll move on to number 23 in the list, who was better than Mitch Trubisky this year, and that man is
Jared Goff.
Just about better than,
only just.
Yeah, not a great season again, but again we've got to take into consideration the reason why we've got Baker and Jared around this area. These were still outside shots for the playoffs, coming in late. Like Sam Darnold, sadly, was never in with a shout at the playoffs. Whereas when it comes to the end, you had the Steelers that were there, you had the Rams that were there, they could have knocked us out. The Bears were still in with it with about 4 games to go.
The Raiders could have made it on the last day if a lot of circumstances went their way.
I mean, if they didn't lose in their own backyard in their last home game to Jacksonville, they may have been joining them in the playoffs. But talk a bit about Jared Goff.
Yeah, so he had 4,600 yards, 22 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Played all 16 games, 48.5 QBR, and like you say, went 9-7, missed the playoffs as the 7th seed with the Rams, coming off that Super Bowl with a loss to the Patriots. But Jared Goff, since signing that big extension last offseason, he's now looking like the most overpaid player in the league. 22 touchdowns and 16 interceptions is not very good. And I think this year we saw that Jared Goff without a fully fit Todd Gurley, and he doesn't
He's not the same.
No way. No, because I know last season they used a lot of play action for Jared Goff, and it made him look like a very good QB.
Yeah.
But in the moments where you can't rely on play action because Todd Gurley's not in the backfield, he's out injured, and you need to make those big throws,
he doesn't seem the guy to.
Doesn't seem the guy to do it, and I'm still not sold on Jared Goff. I know he led his team to a Super Bowl, but Sean McVay's a good coach.
Didn't lead him to winning that though.
No, yeah, exactly.
He led him politely a boring Super Bowl. They didn't get a touchdown.
Worst one I watched. They only got a field goal. Yeah,
exactly. So
13-3.
When they relied on him in the big occasion,
threw a pick against Stephon Gilmore when they're on the drive to try and tie the game.
A lot of people throw picks against Stephon Gilmore. To be fair, I'll give him a little credit, but
could have caught it with his eyes closed though. It was a dolly.
Do you think, for example, the money maybe not added a bit more pressure, but when you know that you're in it for the long term, he doesn't have to prove a point anymore because he's got that contract now.
Got paid, yeah.
He's got nothing to prove. He kind of sat back and went, I can just kind of breeze my way through. I'm getting paid some money. I'll win games no matter what because the Rams are a decent side. They'll win games.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to go out there and get them to a Super Bowl because that was they've already done it, you know.
And it's a shame because, like I say, last season and the season before that, the season after his rookie season, so his second and third seasons, he looked like a really good QB, but this year he's took a step back, and I think it is pretty contingent on Todd Gurley. His offensive line was terrible as well, to be fair. His offensive line wasn't very good. They lost a few pieces in free agency, and it's getting older. But yeah, Jared Goff, just underwhelming again. I know that's why he's 23. It's an underwhelming season.
Yeah, I think this is where this is what we're going to call the average section of the QB rankings. But I actually think the next guy on this list isn't average. I think he was above average this year, but didn't play many games. And that's Drew Lock for the Denver Broncos. Because Drew Lock only played 5 games this year, and you've got to think, why is he up as high as 22 when he's only played 5 games? Well, he was 4-1 in them 5 games, and his only loss came to Kansas City, who were the eventual
understandable
Super Bowl champions. I mean, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, not inspiring numbers, but that's only because he played 5 games. But for what I take from that is, when you're only losing to Kansas and you're unbeaten apart from that in 5 games, and, as I always mention, the Denver Broncos became annoyingly hard to play.
Yeah.
They couldn't quite reach the playoffs, so I guess because they were already out a little bit before. But going forward, I think if they stick with Drew Lock, they could be in with a shout. Because they're not a bad team.
Definitely, I mean, and I know they even traded away Emmanuel Sanders mid-season. So
he
lost a weapon, and he still did very, very well. He looks like he's got a good connection with Cortland Sutton. Second round pick, he's looking like a really good draft pick for the Broncos. Like you say, when he came in, won 4 games, which was pretty good. For a team that was looking like they're going to have a top 10 pick. But yeah, like you said, a team that was very annoying to play at the end of the season. I think Drew Lock could have a pretty big future. To be fair, he looks like a good stable QB.
I think next season we'll be able to tell because I think he will start.
He
from
will,
the very beginning.
He will be definitely starting next season because Joe Flacco was there as a bridge QB, and he kind of just he was toast, wasn't he? It was time for Drew Lock to take over, and when he had his chance, he took it and played really well.
I mean, that's what we get. For example, you look at Dwayne Haskins, who was a first round draft pick, hasn't really been able to stamp his mark when given the chance. Maybe that's because he's starting straight away, and this proves that when Drew Lock was kind of sat there as Joe Flacco was playing, mulling over possible players, possible options for him, he came onto the field and won games. And I think next season there'll be a team to watch purely because I'm interested to see how he does when he gets a longevity, like a longer spell in the side, should I say.
Yeah, and it's a young side with a lot of talent on defense as well. And they might add Henry Ruggs in the draft, which would be awesome for him.
I was going to say they might either, if Jerry Jeudy can last that far, I don't think he will.
No.
But if they can pick up, if he does drop that far, then
that'd be a good pick for Drew Lock
or even Henry Ruggs. I mean, that is a great weapon.
Great pick, yeah. As a second receiver to Cortland Sutton.
Definitely.
Drew Lock's
and Cortland Sutton's a talented player. But we'll move forward to number 21 in the draft. In the our rankings.
I'm too excited for the draft, aren't you?
I am. I'm really excited. And our rankings for the top 32 quarterbacks, and it's Jacoby Brissett. We've talked about the Colts wanting possible new quarterbacks leading into next season. Do you think that is worthy, considering how Jacoby performed this year?
I can understand it because Jacoby Brissett's another one of those QBs where I think we've seen his ceiling. He's a game manager. This season he had 2,900 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. So not big numbers, but did play 15 games as well. Had a QBR of 50.1, and he had a 7-8 record. So he's another one of those like game manager quarterbacks that he's not really going to take a team over the top. So yeah, I could understand the Colts looking for someone like Jordan Love, a fresh QB to come in who could have a higher ceiling than Jacoby
but
Brissett.
not a bad season from.
No, he's a stable QB in Jacoby Brissett.
We've got a lot of that in this middle field when you look at, we've got Goff, we've got someone coming up in just a little bit, may play for the Raiders, I'm not dropping, an average. And I think these teams are now looking for, right, we've had enough of average, we need someone that can lead us to a Super Bowl. Is Jacoby that guy? Probably not. Will Jacoby get you wins? Yeah, he will. But the Colts, I think, had an uninspiring end to the season, really poor. Considering that they seem to run a decent amount of, they had a decent record and they could have made the playoffs, I think, with about 5 games to go. I think if they would have rekindled.
Kind of just tailed off towards the end, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. And they became out the conversation with about 3 or 4 games to go. And that's where it ended. But not the worst season for Jacoby Brissett. Not the best season. But if we're looking at numbers, who did have an above average season on both senses? It's number 20. It's my favourite. Famous Jameis Winston. By the way, I do support the Minnesota Vikings, but I do have a soft spot for Jameis Winston because he's fun to watch.
I mean, what about if we come in next Thursday and we're recapping free agency and Jameis Winston signed as a backup to the Vikings?
I would, honest to God, I'd be off the walls with happiness. I mean, he's had eye surgery, right? He did all this blind, right?
And with a torn meniscus as well.
He did all this blind with a torn meniscus, right? 7-9, not the best. Credit where it's due, not the best. But 33 touchdowns, second in the league. 5,109 yards. First in the league. 30 interceptions, 32nd in the league.
Well, first interceptions in the league, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, 32nd in terms of how many he threw. So yeah, we'll give him first for that as well. So first, second, and first.
All he does is win. And he's even got win in his name.
It's great numbers.
You know what? He could even give him the Offensive Player of the Year and the Defensive Player of the Year.
It's unbelievable. And all he did this while he was blind. So I think this is Walter Payton's Man of the Year because he did it while blind. But no, I think, honestly, when you look at Jameis, he is, honest to God, you could not get more polar opposite performances. Like, he will make Hail Mary throws and then they'll find the receiver. But there'll be a guy right in front of him that he could literally, it's like a 5-yard pass, and he'll just throw it straight to him. Throw it straight to the defense. But I love him, and I think he's fun to watch. And I think, look at his numbers production-wise, they're up there.
5,000 yards and 33 passing touchdowns is not to be laughed at. And
that's Super Bowl standard. If you took away the interceptions,
it's just the interceptions. He just turns the ball over a lot for some reason.
For some reason, he's blind.
Yeah, well, he was blind, but also, I mean, he can be blind, but he can also be stupid by throwing into a quadruple coverage.
I was gonna say
4 cornerbacks around 1 receiver. Just heave it up there. Somewhat will happen.
Yeah, do you know like a moth to a flame? I think he sees double coverage, and that's Jameis to the flame. He loves it.
He definitely threw that interception on purpose last game of the season. He wanted the record.
I am honest to God, the amount of friends he probably had that had bets on him making a 30-30 season, he had to. But I mean, going forward, he's out of contract this year, which is a shame because I don't think he's going to get picked up by the Buccaneers.
Maybe. We'll have to see. Maybe the Bucs see something in him, but I think he will definitely get picked up by somebody and fight for that competing spot. I mean, he's Thanos, isn't he? Balanced as all things should be.
Yeah, do you know what? If we're going off consistency, consistently good and bad. But no, we'll move on because enough about famous Jameis. He's not as good as my QB Kirk, but, I think he's the most entertaining guy to watch for the wrong reasons. But he'll live and he'll learn. And next year, when he's got eyes that can see, he might be a lot better.
He might be a bit better, yeah.
And he's got a shoulder that can work as well. It's mad. He is the most weird player.
It's weird, isn't it? It's just so strange for a player to throw that many yards and touchdowns, but also throw that many picks whilst being blind and a torn shoulder.
Yeah, he's got one arm, no eyes, And but who was it that said he was £100 million quarterback?
It was the guy. It was someone on NFL.com. I think he was a former Packers wide receiver. I think it was James Jones, someone like that.
Well, we'll listen to him and get him that £100 million contract right now. We'll go to number 19 before we get on a Jameis hype train, which is definitely going to eventually happen. Number 19, average by name and by nature.
Derek Carr.
He's just average, isn't he? Just average.
He is. He was MVP candidate in 2016. Broke his leg. Since then, it's been 20 touchdowns, 10 picks. 20 touchdowns, 10 picks. This year, it was 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Played all 16 games, had a 7-9 record, which is, again, what was it?
I mean, I'll be honest, Siri...
What on earth is Siri on about there?
Siri does not like Derek Carr's numbers.
Siri does not like Derek Carr at all. 62.2 QBR rating. So, yeah, he's just average. He's Derek Carr, really. But I don't think... He's another question going into the offseason. Will the Raiders stick with him?
No.
You don't think?
Not now they've moved to Vegas, no. I think they'll look for either a backup that will be in the future, because they've got 2 picks in the first round, haven't they?
2 picks, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe in one of them, or maybe wait till the second round, but I don't think they stick with him. I don't think they look for one in free agency. I can't... How much cap room do they have?
About 50 million, I think.
Maybe.
So they have a fair bit.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they go for Jameis, and I'm not
Maybe.
just saying that because we've just mentioned him, but like, he'll get you higher numbers. Yes, the risk is there.
Well, new stadium, if anyone's going to bring entertainment, it's bloody Jameis, isn't it?
It is. They were rumoured that like they need a big name like a Brady. Maybe they need a Rivers.
The rumours are that they might, as soon as free agency opens, they can offer Brady 2 years, 60 mil.
Maybe.
Which, if it happens, Brady might not.
I think he's
might
going
not
to
be
end
able
up
to
with
turn
the
that
Bucks.
Maybe.
Because he's going to then have to relocate to Vegas, and
But whatever happens, I think this guy's future is in limbo a bit. Derek Carr.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to be a starter.
You don't think he's going to be a starter?
I can't figure out because it depends. We'll see more next week.
Maybe like, I don't know. If Ben Roethlisberger's looking washed up, maybe the Steelers
Yeah,
could be a decent fit.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good idea actually. Because if you think none of the QBs really, kind of showed anything, so it's probably a decent idea. But I think we'll see next week with where the Raiders seem going into free agency, and where they seem going into the draft as well with their 2-round picks. But I just don't think he's just not good enough.
It's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to put into words because he's just average, which I feel like I've said a lot during this podcast.
Yeah, same.
But now we'll move to number 18. We're almost at the halfway mark at quarterbacks. But at number 18, it is Daniel Jones of the New York Giants. And actually, I mean, if you look at Daniel Jones' record, genuinely awful. 3-10. That is awful. Why is he as high as 18? Because with 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, it's not a bad year.
It's not bad at all
For Daniel Jones. And it was it his rookie year?
Yeah, and he didn't start till week 3.
Exactly. It was his rookie year. He's behind Eli Manning, so he was in and out the team. He got a bit of game time towards the end. But there's a lot of positives that I saw in Daniel Jones because the Giants were poor. They're poor on both sides of the ball, really.
Very poor.
I mean, and they were running the ball a lot of the time because we've got Saquon Barkley. So he doesn't get to really show his passing offense. I mean, when you get 24 touchdowns, I mean, and you go 3-10, that's a bit. It doesn't really tell the whole story.
No, it don't, because his team, like you said, is not very good, and you can't expect you can't expect Saquon and Daniel Jones to pull them to victories out of nowhere.
Especially on defense, I think they were awful.
Give up way too many points, but he definitely proved me wrong this year, Daniel Jones. Coming out of the draft, I thought the Giants have overdrafted this guy so much. I mean, they could have got Dwayne Haskins, they could have got this and that, blah, 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 but to be fair, he actually had a really good season. Obviously, it was 0-2 against the Dallas Cowboys, I will put that out there.
Yeah, you mentioned it. You go ahead.
He came off the bench in the first game and fumbled straight away.
I'll be honest, I didn't mention that Mitch Trubisky, the Chicago Bears, Mitch Trubisky tore us apart twice.
Yeah.
So we'll just...
It happens.
But it was against our second team. I'm not having it. But no, he can't beat the Cowboys, and he couldn't beat many teams, to be fair, at 3-10.
But I think the Giants have got their future QB in him.
Yeah, I agree.
And they've been looking for it for a long time, and I think, decent pick by the Giants, and we'll have to see what he can do, because he looks like a decent, another stable QB who's definitely proved me wrong, and a lot of people wrong. A lot of Giants fans were good when they drafted Daniel Jones, but I bet they're loving him now, aren't they?
No, I bet so. And just quickly, Rowan has put in the chat that, have you heard the NFL has suspended all travel?
I heard that. I heard that earlier.
Will's heard it now. I've not seen it yet. But who won't be travelling, or who is currently travelling? Gardner Minshew. He's on his
Roman's gonna be happy about that.
trailer park tour. I think that's what he's called it. I don't know what he's called it. He's like going on a trailer park tour or something.
If there's one guy that doesn't give a damn about anything, it's Gardner Minshew.
No, he'll fight the corona. With all his mustache power that he brings. It is Minshew mania, Minshew magic, and for the amount of games he played last year, very impressive.
Yeah, I was impressed with Gardner Minshew, especially being a sixth round pick, outplaying Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles. He had 3,271 yards, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, so good numbers.
Great numbers.
Played 14 games in total, 6-8. Not all his fault because his team's not amazing, and a 42.6 QBR rating. So again, not very good QBR rating, but like from what we saw as a 6th round pick rookie, very encouraging for the Jags. I think they found their future, man.
Oh yeah, I think that, as I've always said about Gardner Minshew, he is a man you can build a franchise around. He's got he's got a brandable face.
You can make money off Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, you can. Like honestly, the amount of fake mustaches you can sell you can sell trailers, Minshew trailers.
Yeah.
There is unlimited potential, and to be honest, for a 6th rounder to come in and do that compared to Daniel Jones, who was a 1st rounder,
6th overall pick,
they got a better record. He had better numbers. You know, I think there's a lot to be positive about Minshew, and I think he will beat out Nick Foles and he'll start next year.
Yeah, I think the rumours are they're already trying to get rid of Nick Foles because this guy's the future for them. So well done to the Jags for getting an absolute steal in the draft.
Yeah, they found a man in the 6th. Maybe all the good QBs come out in the 6th round.
Possibly.
Maybe, you never know. Is he the new Brady? No, he's the only Minshew. That's that's what we need to know. And at number 16, the halfway mark, it's Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. He did make it to the playoffs. I think he's the first quarterback that we've got that made it to the playoffs. Yeah. So arguably, we're calling him the worst quarterback that made the playoffs because they were knocked out in wildcard weekend by the Texans.
Probably should have won the game, really.
Yeah, they did. They held them. They had a strong lead in that game, and they went 10-6 on the season, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He, for me, does not show me the fact that they lost that game to the Texans shows me he hasn't got the character.
No, and he's that just showed you. Deshaun Watson is a guy that can take you over the top. He doesn't need players' help. He doesn't need to rely on anybody. Josh Allen's the opposite. Can he lead a team by himself with a lack of quality players?
No,
I don't know, because he had a lot of receivers, lot of weapons this year. I know they could do with another wide receiver, but Cole Beasley and John Brown are good receivers, and their defense was tremendous.
I was about to say, I think the Bills, the reason they got to the playoffs, why we've got him probably at 16 is it wasn't the offense that got them there. I don't think. I think it was more on the defensive side of the ball.
I agree. Yeah.
So when they needed their offense to step up, sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't show up quite like they needed them to. I mean, I think I had the Bills going to the playoffs, didn't I?
Maybe.
I think I predicted the Bills were going to make the playoffs, and they did. But that
was contingent on the defense playing so well. It wasn't really Josh Allen. It wasn't like some people were saying Josh Allen's going to lead the Bills to the playoffs. It's like the Bills' defense, along with Josh Allen's going to go to the playoffs.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like when teams run the ball, it's not going to be the QB that gets them there. It's going to be Derrick Henry. It's going to be pretty much the whole San Francisco 49ers offense. But I think a good season for Josh Allen. I mean, you can't knock it if you get to the playoffs. That's more than good enough, you know. But he never quite.
Another high pick who you could say improved on his rookie season and might keep improving. But the thing with Josh Allen is he's always gonna have that big arm. He can throw a ball, like he can throw the deep ball very well. So he's always been one of those players that can make any pass on the field really down the field just because of his arm strength, and he can run as well. But we'll have to see how he improves as more of a, as a leader and not just a game manager. Yeah,
definitely. See if he can start leading his team rather than just making it when it's needed to be made.
Yeah, exactly.
15 on the list is Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons. We've got him in at number 15. You volleyed for this guy because he did have weapons. He had Julio Jones, massive weapon.
Calvin Ridley.
Yep, massive weapon as well. But a poor season if you go off, for example, the record. So why is he above, for example, the Bills' Josh Allen who made it to the playoffs?
Well, I think when you look at his numbers, Matt Ryan, former MVP as well, 4,466 yards, 26 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He played 15 games. He had 57.6 QBR, had a 7-9 record. But the thing is with Matt Ryan is he did not get any help from his defense at all.
No, their defense was awful.
Yeah, and it always seems to be banged up as well, and they always seem to put the game on Matt Ryan's shoulders to make every single throw. You know, they're having Matt Ryan throw like 50 passes a game, and you can't just rely on your QB. You need to have some sort of running game to counter that. Their running back Devontae Freeman was also injured last season quite a bit, so he's another one who could be leaving this offseason, Devontae Freeman. I think Matt Ryan, you know, some people might say he's overrated and overpaid, but I think he is a talented quarterback. And we saw when he got to the Super Bowl, with healthy weapons and a healthy defense, he can win games and he can win in the playoffs. He
wasn't completely wasted of weapons, like I said with the guys we mentioned previously.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help when...
And he's had one of the worst offensive lines for quite a while now.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're looking at week in, week out, your whole lineup's changing due to injuries. We'll talk about a few more that had to kind of do what they had to do with banged up defenses and offenses. That's why he's so high up on this list, is because banged up team, got a few good results in there. You know, 7-9's a decent... it's not a good record, but it's okay. And I think when he was offered to make a play, he made the play.
Yeah, and he's always been an accurate QB, Matt Ryan. He's never been in question. He's
reliable.
He's reliable. And, you know, some people might say he turns the ball over a bit, but I think he's a good quarterback, Matt Ryan. And a couple of seasons ago, I think it was the second game of the season, the Falcons were just coming off that Super Bowl loss, and we were thinking, can the Falcons get back there? Both of their starting safeties tear their ACLs, and his cornerback does his Achilles. So you've lost your two starting safeties and your starting cornerback.
Yeah, it's hard to get
over that. Even though
you're playing probably practice squad members at this point.
Exactly.
Exactly, we're going to struggle anyway. But at number 14, it is Kyler Murray, Offensive Rookie of the Year. One of my high points of the season. I really enjoyed watching him. 5-10-1, first overall draft pick in last year's draft. 4 rushing touchdowns, 20 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. We have spoke about Kyler Murray previously in length. I've spoke about him. I predicted him as my Offensive Rookie of the Year. He went on to win that, rightly so. I know there was other...
I think it's because it's the QB, innit? And if the QB can step in and show promise, some people say QBs get a bit more leeway in terms of awards, but to be fair to me, he did have a very good season.
He did.
He was the first overall pick. A lot of expectations. And
not the best Cardinals team.
Exactly, not a lot of weapons to throw to, but yeah, he had a pretty good season.
And they'll have a high pick this year. I think you had him taking a wide receiver.
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, you had him taking a wide receiver. So if he gets a few more weapons around him, then I think he will just grow strength by strength, week on week, year on year. Because you've got to remember that's his first season. So
it's going to be in the league a long time.
Compared to what we've seen from other rookies in the first year, he was the best by a million miles in terms of quarterback. Anyway, next up, it's Tom Brady. We're talking about one man that just got drafted and one man that is on the move in free agency, and the elder statesman of the QB field, we'd say. Not a great season by his high standards. I will give him credit. He's arguably the best we've ever seen. Sometimes you've got to put him up against himself, and we have this year, and it doesn't make good viewing, really.
No, Tom Brady's coming back into his career now. Did we see Tom Brady finally regress? Because he's been so consistently good. Some people, I think he's the greatest of all time in terms of NFL. 4,000 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions were his season stats. So again, that's not that bad. But like I say, for his standards, when he was torching defenses almost every single week in the NFL, he played 16 games, had a 53.7 QBR,
I'd like
12
to see his
4
completion
record.
percentage.
Yeah, but Tom Brady, you have to remember, with him being old and having a lack of mobility, he's relying on passes in the pocket. He's relying for weapons to get open. And you look at that Patriots offense, not a lot of offensive weapons.
Julian Edelman.
Yeah, and even he was a little banged up.
Yeah, and
N'Keal Harry, their first round pick, was a little banged up. Gronk left. Their offensive line is a bit average now, and they've got some free agents there. I don't think it would make any sense for Tom Brady to stay with the Patriots. No,
I feel the Patriots suffered as well because, again, Tom Brady, as we've said with Tampa, they need people for him to throw to because he's not going to make first downs by himself, like, for example, like Lamar Jackson will.
Exactly, he's not going to be able to extend plays. He can't do that anymore.
He's not that type of quarterback. He is stand in the pocket with a strong arm, find your targets, pinpoint accuracy, which he probably still has.
He's still a good leader. And
he doesn't like being hit. I think that's clear to see.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be hit anymore. He's getting older. There's no point in risking more and more injuries as you get older. I think a lot of injuries tapered their season, I think. And I think, as you say, the lack of
talent, the skill positions. Like they've got 3 decent running backs.
Have they got DK Metcalf?
No, DK
Or is
Metcalf.
it the Seahawks? Seahawks, yeah.
But DK Metcalf would have been a nice pick for the Patriots now, looking back in hindsight, because he was a second round pick. But yeah, Brady, I think he moves on. And obviously, first round, he didn't have a bye in the playoffs this season, and the first round exit, which is not. Brady will not be experiencing that a lot.
No.
Lost the Titans.
I think he needed the bye week.
He did, and the Patriots have had a bye week for at least 8 straight seasons now, I think, something like that. So that would have been a shock to the system for him, playing a week earlier. But, like I said, it doesn't help that the Patriots roster was poor, not a lot of talent.
And he'll be on the move this off-season, I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah.
But then we'll move on to number 12, a man who got to the Super Bowl, but he's only 12th on the list, and we've mentioned him in the Tom Brady trade deal. That was not on purpose, I can tell you that for sure. It was Jimmy G, Super Bowl runner-up, 13-3. He led the San Francisco 49ers to. Obviously, they were the NFC champions. 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Not a bad season, but relied on running the ball.
Very good defense.
Yeah, very good defense. You can say he wasn't to be trusted sometimes because very pragmatic. Sometimes he's just throwing completions when there seemed to be a guy wide open.
Yeah.
So he's not the most reliable, accurate passer. He knows his role. He did his role very well. He got to a Super Bowl. He must have been doing something right.
Yeah.
But he's not up there with the rest in terms of how important he was to that team. Because I don't want to say this really harshly, most QBs could have done what he did this year.
Yeah, especially with the talent the 49ers had on the team.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan, one of the best young coaches in the league. Good, really, really good defense. It's going to constantly make stops for you and give you the ball in short yard situations. Like, I wonder how many interceptions they got on Garoppolo started at the opponent's 30. Instead of doing big long drives at his own 20.
It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. So, but Jimmy G, I think he's Jimmy G, he's kind of in that same tier as like the upcoming quarterbacks that you'll hear in a minute.
Yeah.
But he's kind of in that secondary tier. He's not elite, but he's a good QB. He's not one of those elite level guys.
If we were doing tier lists, elite, good, average, he's above average where you see your Derek Carrs and stuff. He is good. And I think give him another year. I'd like to see him in this offense. Try and throw a bit more. I'd like to see. 27 touchdowns.
It's still a decent number.
Still throws a.
He does turn the ball over a bit as well.
Yeah, he
Could
does.
say that.
He does indeed. But I think a good player. I think you give him another year. I don't see the point in trading or.
Especially not getting rid of. There's no point getting rid of him for Tom Brady.
No, not at all. Number 11 is Matt Stafford. Right now, this we didn't argue about it. It wasn't an argument. It was more I hadn't seen enough of him because I came in late to this season. So you had to convince me massively that he was the 11th best quarterback this year. Convince the people.
Right, so Matt Stafford only played 8 games this season. He got injured, and they had a quarterback playing for him. Not many people know who he is, and there's a reason why the Lions didn't have a great record, because Matt Stafford wasn't leading them. But this season, in the 8 games that he played, he had 2,489 yards, I think it is, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 69.6 QB rating, which is pretty good. He was 3-4-1 in the games he played, but there were 2 games where the referees were terrible, I will point that out, especially against the Packers. Some big missed calls.
Well, we've never seen that before.
Yeah. But in 8 games, 19 touchdowns and only 5 picks. Those are good numbers.
No, to be fair,
if you times that by 2, that's a brilliant season.
When you started putting it forward to me, I was like, yeah, that's very good. I think sometimes the Lions' record detracts away from that because they were so poor this season. The defense doesn't help.
No, and the defense was a bit underwhelming, which was a shame. But yeah, Matt Stafford, I think he still will be the starter next season, and it's a tough one really, because you look at his injury concerns. He has been injured for quite a while.
Yeah, you've got to wonder if he can bounce back.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to wonder, can he put together another fully healthy season? Because if there's someone who's going to play through the injuries and someone who's tough, it's going to be Matt Stafford, because he's a very tough quarterback and very strong-willed. But we'll have to see how he does next season. Maybe I would like to see him draft Tua, sit Tua behind Matt Stafford. It's worked well on my Madden franchise.
That might be the reason you want that.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Matt Stafford.
Going forward, yeah. Next is number 10. We're now into the top 10 territory. This is where things get exciting. Every good list comes in 10s.
Yeah.
And at number 10, it's Carson Wentz of the Philadelphia Eagles. One word, injured. That is literally the problem with this man. He is a good quarterback. I think do you know what? I think he's fine. He did really well with a really injured Eagles team. For example, he led them to top of the division. Wasn't the best quality division because obviously your Cowboys were in it, and they didn't have a good season by their standards. I mean,
underperforming.
Politely,
Blame Jason Garrett.
This Eagles team doesn't win many divisions, but they were lucky they were in yours. 27 touchdowns for 7 interceptions. You can't argue with his numbers. Did make it to wildcard weekend, made 1 complete pass, and then left the field because he was injured. So my thing is, why he's so far down in terms of he's a good quarterback.
He's a good talent, but he's not dependable enough.
Yeah, he's got the numbers, but he hasn't got the health
and
the fitness. And that's not he probably works out just as well as anyone else. It's just his body doesn't allow what other players hits. That people.
And he fumbles the ball a lot. I don't think that's being noted down. He's not a very good. Well, once he gets sacked, he's a good athlete, but he fumbles a lot.
Yeah. Some people get hit and just they can't handle being hit.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And some people can't keep hold of the ball. But I do think you look at his numbers, and I think he's a good quarterback for what he had to work with. Because as we say,
squad wide receivers.
Eagles look like a physio bench.
Yeah,
honest to God, that blue tent was up and down, and then I mean, look at the game they played even against was it the Seahawks?
Seahawks.
Yeah, the blue tent had to be up for him as well, and tough on him. It seemed to be picking up steam because he played a full season, played 9-7, and the moment they needed him the most,
injured.
And
you could say it's a dirty hit, but you've got to staying healthy is an attribute. If you're durable and you're reliable, that's an attribute to have. You've got to be healthy to do something. It's why, for example, in the NBA, it's why LeBron James has been so good for so long, because he stayed healthy. I know he's talented, but he stayed healthy and he's always been available. And Carson Wentz, it's just always been the injury issues with Carson Wentz. He's never been able to. I know he had that MVP-like season, but once again, he got injured. He injured his back last season when put him to a 6-7 record. So I'm not. Obviously, he also got paid. He also got a big contract. So the Eagles definitely see a future in him, and they definitely trust him going forward. But
to be fair, we saw them without him, and they were horrific.
Yeah, many teams are expected to be like that without a good backup. But when Nick Foles stepped in, it seemed like he just fit better with the Eagles.
Yeah.
But he goes to the Jags, falls apart, just doesn't fit their system.
And Gardner does exactly the same as what Foles did to Wentz.
Yeah.
But I think he is a good quarterback. I know you'll be a little thingy, but...
No, I'm not going to lie. I don't like the Eagles. I don't like them at all. But Carson Wentz, you can tell he's a good quarterback. But I just don't trust him to stay healthy throughout the season.
He won't.
And in the big moments, he's yet to show me he can come back from behind and win games, and in those big moments beat the big teams.
I'll tell you then, why don't we go from the team you are least fan of to the team you are a fan of, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. And number 9 on our list is Dak Prescott, 8-8. He led. Was it 8-8 the Cowboys?
8-8.
8-8. Yeah, very average season, but his numbers do not lie.
No, and he had a very good season, probably the best season of his career. 4,902 yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He played all 16 games. He's, like I said, yet to miss a game in his career. He was back page news when he missed a practice. 70.2 QBR, which is 4th in the league. He's always been pretty high in QBR stack. He's always been like a consistently good QB. Yeah, 8-8, like you say, it's not very good, but coaching could be a factor in that. When you look at some of the players on our roster, in terms of, like, we had 2 receivers over 1,000 yards. We have a rusher over 1,300 yards. We have Dak almost a 5,000 yard passer. We finished 8-8. I don't know how that happened.
My thing is he's good and reliable.
Yeah, and he's definitely improved. And obviously we need to get him to do contracts because his contract has expired.
Yeah, he's a free agent. We didn't include him in the free agency scenarios because it's pretty much he's going to return depending on the money he wants.
Yeah, and even if they don't agree on the contract, he's going to get franchise tagged. He will be a Cowboy next season. They're not going to let Dak Prescott hit the free agency market. But yeah, I think it was just an improvement all throughout the season for Dak Prescott. Some people did say maybe he failed, he struggled against the bigger teams, didn't show up in the big moments.
I just think the whole Cowboys team did. I just think the whole team.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it was just Dak and, Zeke was missing in some of them games, but I don't think that might have just been the play calling, in my opinion. But
Amari as well. I mean, Amari had a first half of the season, he was unbelievable. Second half of the season, he injured his heel, wasn't the same, so that could have hindered.
Michael Gallup had a decent.
Gallup had a really good season.
The thing is, on your offense, there was so many good players.
we were the number 1 ranked offense in terms of yards.
Exactly.
And you finish 8 and 8. The defense needs to improve, but in terms of this guy, I've got no worries about Dak Prescott as our quarterback for the future. I think he will be quarterback for a long time, and he's improved every single year, and hopefully we see another improvement next season.
Which I think we will. I think you'll have a lot better record next year, and I think people, because sometimes people can say, "Oh, you win 8 and 8, we'll put you with the rest of the 8 and 8 quarterbacks," which isn't fair because Dak's leagues above them.
Yeah, definitely. You can't just put a player in the same record as another player. Like Mitch Trubisky was 8 and 8. Is Mitch Trubisky as good as Dak Prescott?
No,
exactly so.
But there we go. A man now that went 8 and 4 when he played, and we've talked about him already, Ryan Tannehill, because Marcus Mariota obviously started the season, led his team to a championship game, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, highest QB passer rating. I think he was the highest rated QB, I'm not sure, but I mean, we said he runs the ball a bit too much, so he doesn't get to show what he's about, but led his team to a championship game.
Yeah, found the perfect fit really with the Titans, like we've already mentioned. He did pretty well.
Got carried by Derrick Henry for a little bit.
He did. He definitely did, but he was efficient, and like you said, number 1 in passer rating. Probably his best season of his career so far, and which was pretty impressive coming off the bench. He was the backup to Mariota. The Titans only gave up a 7th round pick to get him. Mariota loses his spot to him, and Ryan Tannehill takes this opportunity and takes him to an AFC Championship game, which many people did not expect.
No, I did. I expected them to beat the Patriots, and you said the Patriots would win. I do want to mention that as many times as possible.
Yeah.
I did predict the Titans to win.
I still don't know how they did it, but Pat Mahomes showed them who's boss.
Yeah, and they could have won that game as well, but as you say, they made Tannehill throw the ball. I think his efficiency is a very big asset.
Yeah, he doesn't turn the ball over, but he doesn't take risks.
No. But then again, you look at Jameis, he takes risks, and he's got 30 interceptions. He takes
risks, but he also threw 33 touchdowns, so sometimes that risk can pay off as a reward.
It's a catch-22 is the NFL sometimes. But we'll move on to number 7, because Tannehill was number 8, and they got to a championship game. At number 7, they didn't get to a championship game.
Got to the playoffs and won a game.
They got to the divisional round. And that
Big
is
man Kirk.
My boy, Kirk Cousins. I mean, the choice of image here is fantastic because it is a Philly special that didn't quite work.
It's a Philly fail.
It was a Philly fail, and it just sums up my love for Kirk Cousins. And, we saw something the other day. I know you've got the stats on him, but I'm going to talk about him because he's my QB.
I mentioned his stats. He threw 3,600 yards, 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, played 15 games. Really, really good season.
Good season.
Good season.
And
talent's never been questioned with Kirk because it's just giving him time to make the throws.
Yeah, the offensive line needs work. I
Definitely.
think the pocket awareness is dodgy to say the least. He likes to curl up into a ball. But we've got to stick with him for this next year. I don't care about... Obviously, sometimes when you're watching a game, you'll be angry and you're like, this guy's the worst. Which I've messaged you sometimes. I've just been like, this guy's the worst. Throws a deep long pass. This guy's the best.
Yeah.
And, you give him time and you give him what he needs and he'll make magic. And that make miracles, even though we've got a New Orleans one now. But no, I do think that he is a good quarterback, if not upper of great when given time to make a pass.
Yeah, I think he's in the same bracket as the Wentz, the Dak Prescotts, the Garoppolos.
Yeah, very much
good QBs.
They have better mobility. He has a better arm, I'd say.
Probably, yeah.
But also when it comes to him, we saw some. I sent it you the other day, didn't I? Trade away Daniil Hunter to get Tua at number... Yeah, no.
Both teams say no to that trade.
Yeah, because give him another year, see what this offense can do, because it's a new offensive coordinator now. So there was rumours that it was always his offense and not Kevin Stefanski's, but new offensive coordinator nonetheless.
New ideas, new players.
Yeah, and we'll see if that works with him, because when we played play action, he got all the time in the world and he could pick the pass. So
Dalvin Cook in the backfield definitely complements him well as well.
Oh, definitely.
And with the draft coming up as well, when you can focus on that O-line and get replacements, bigger people on the offensive line and more talented players, we might see a better Kirk.
And you want quarterbacks to lead you to victory in hostile situations. He led us to a victory in New Orleans' backyard when no one expected it.
The Superdome is a tough place to win. Very, very tough. And Kirk, got to hand it to him. He made that big throw to Thielen, 50-yard pass, which was incredible, really.
Yeah.
And another thing with Kirk is contract is up at this season, and usually when players have only got 1 year left on their deal, we see a motivated player. We might see a motivated Kirk Cousins this year to comes out and says, you know what, I'm worth all the money.
Yeah, and I think he might be. There are rumours he might want an extension, and I think he might be worthy of an extension.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to number 6 in the list, which was Deshaun Watson. Now we're getting to that upper level.
Elite players.
Elite level now. Deshaun Watson is up there for the Houston Texans. 10-6, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Also made it to the divisional round, but he carried this team. Yeah. Him and DeAndre Hopkins made this offense.
He's got the worst offensive line in the league. He gets no protection at all.
He doesn't, but the mad thing is he doesn't need it.
No.
He does not need it at all. I'll tell you, if they pick up an all-lineman in the draft next year, maybe, this year coming, maybe either
free agency.
First round, they pick one up in free agency, maybe. Even when he gets hit, I remember that double tackle, he was dead for rights, and he snuck out the back.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how he does it.
Yeah.
But he is a starting QB for the future. I think he will be a Super Bowl winner.
I think he could be. He's an exciting QB, and I do like Deshaun Watson's play. He's one of my favourite QBs in the league, just because of how he seems like he's such a strong-willed player, and no matter what the circumstances are, you can rely on this guy to make a play.
Definitely.
He can run the ball well. He's got a very, very good arm, and the Texans will be grateful to have him as their quarterback, because he's the only reason they're relevant.
And the link with Hopkins as well.
Yeah.
That is like, in terms of...
It's lightning in a bottle,
It's
isn't it,
priceless.
Really?
It really is. To have that link up, fantastic. Can't say much more positive things about Deshaun Watson.
Just a great
Massive
player,
fan. Number 5 on the list didn't make it as far as Kirk or Deshaun, but we got to take in the regular season as well, and fantastic regular season.
Yeah, only played 11 games. He had 2,979 yards, 27 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, and 71.7 QBR, an 8-3 record as well. Like I said, only played 11 games, but still had 27 touchdowns, which is unbelievable.
Exactly. He's Drew Brees. You know what you're going to get. He is arguably one of the best. I think
he's one of the best of all time. I think he's got the. I think he leads the league in passing yards of all time.
Is he the best QB in the NFC? Maybe.
No, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
But Drew Brees is taken off in a way. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And he's a tremendous QB.
Easily. And I think this season showed it. Didn't quite get as far as maybe they'd wanted to. Sorry, not sorry. But no, you look at them. They were outsiders for the Super Bowl. I think a lot of pundits and stuff had them. Analysts, should I say?
Last 3 years, they've really had that chance, and they lost Minneapolis Miracle. They lost that game when they should have won it. They then lost to the Rams on a missed call, which they got absolutely robbed, and then they lost to Kirk again.
They just can't handle Kirk and his...
Don't like the Vikings, do they?
No, not at all. But fully worthy of his position. I think it's getting a lot easier when it comes to these top 6 and, the elite tier.
They speak for themselves, really, don't these players, just because of how good they
do.
Are.
Whereas we have to kind of make a case as to why we've got Andy Dalton last. But at number 4, it's Aaron Rodgers. This pained me. I'm not going to lie. This pained me a lot. But he's 13-3. The numbers don't lie. He made it to the NFC Championship game. They laid an egg.
They did.
In an NFC Championship game. But 26 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That is incredible numbers.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Aaron Rodgers has been one of the top quarterbacks in the league.
He's a future Hall of Famer.
For the last 10 years. Oh, yeah, 100%. He's probably the best thrower of a ball, of a football in NFL history. For some of the throws he can make off balance and players draped all over him is incredible.
I'd definitely say so. I was going to actually put him, Drew, Russell, and Aaron. I think they're very different. I think Aaron and Drew are kind of similar, but I think Russell's very different. But in terms of passing the ball, him and Drew Brees are very close, but I do think Aaron Rodgers is a better thrower of the ball.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers as well on the Packers is not always being given that help by the front office, but this season they went out, they got some really good defensive players in free agency, and it showed when you give Rodgers a defense and a defense that can turn the ball over for him, he can make other teams' defenses pay just because of how good he is, and that's why they won 13 games, coming from 7 games to 13 games.
Exactly.
Tom Brady, in my opinion, is the best quarterback of all time. In terms of winning, in terms of talent, you can't argue it's Aaron Rodgers.
No, definitely not. And before we get into the top 3, question from Kieran James Dillon, who's our friend. Is Dak Prescott the one Post Malone sings about? Yes, it is.
It is.
Dak Prescott, Hail Mary, touchdown, yeah.
Because Post Malone is a Dallas Cowboys fan.
He is. And where was Gardner? I'm sad you hadn't tuned in to the whole thing, to be honest with you, but I think we had him at 17.
Who's that? Minshew.
17, yeah. So he was in the top 20, you'll be happy to hear. But we'll move to the elite tiers of the top 3. Now we're getting to the greats. Number 3 is Russell Wilson. We mentioned him actually while we were in passing, talking about the other players. I mean, carried a Seahawks team which was banged up, injured. He did better than Wentz because they beat the Eagles. They got beat by the 49ers.
They got beat by the Packers.
Packers.
But it was a close game.
Yeah, then the Packers faced the 49ers. But they deserved to get where they got. They were unfortunate with injuries that they were eliminated. I think when they come back next year and they've got everyone fit and they can sign who they want in free agency, they can get who they want, they could be an outside shot early for the Super Bowl.
Russell Wilson's going to... When you got Russell Wilson on your team, you're going to win games just because of how good he is. He threw 4,110 yards, 31 passing touchdowns, only 5 picks. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. 11-5 record, played all 16 games. He, very much like Dak, he's durable. He's played every single game since he's been in the league, I think, pretty much. And he had like 69.8 QBR rating. So yeah, Russell Wilson's just another player who the talent speaks for itself.
Pocket awareness, pocket evasion.
He's so hard to bring down. He just constantly, like you say, evades defenders all the time. And Russell Wilson has probably got the best deep ball pass in the NFL.
Yeah, and he's a leader.
Yeah, and he's a leader. He's what you want as your quarterback. Yeah, Russell. I think, like we said, it was very tough between Russell Wilson and the next guy coming up. Second and third. Are you
doing a segue? Do you want a segue? Should we segue? Yeah. Right, it was close between Russell Wilson and number 2, Lamar Jackson, who was the MVP of the season. 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 7 rushing touchdowns, 14-2, but they only made it to the divisional round because they got destroyed by the Titans. But we're going to take into account what he managed to do in the season itself, the regular season, and he was unplayable.
He was, and he threw for like over 3,000 yards, also rushed for over 1,200. He's just the ultimate weapon, and 36 passing touchdowns, led the league. Didn't turn the ball over a lot. I know he got beat in the first round by the Titans, but Derrick Henry, purple patch, he was running over everybody at that point. And Lamar, he didn't play that bad in that game itself. The defense didn't help him out. And when you look at the offense for Lamar Jackson, his wide receivers are not even like amazing players. He's got Marquise Hollywood Brown and Willie Snead, but they're just decent players. But he is the offense of the Baltimore Ravens. He makes them tick. You take him out of that Ravens team, it's average. And 14-game regular season, wins 14 games of regular season. That's very, very good.
And, I mean, if they don't come up against the hottest team in the NFL when they came up to them, which was the Titans, who were so difficult to beat, then I think Lamar next season, Baltimore have got a point to prove because they won't be happy with the way they got eliminated this year after the regular season they had. And I'm really excited to see him, maybe with a chip on his shoulder, to go after this league next year and absolutely tear it up.
And especially, it was only his second year.
Oh, exactly.
He's not even played 2 full seasons. He only started halfway through his rookie season. This was his first full season, which is just absolutely incredible. Very much like Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes in his first full season won MVP.
You've spoilt it.
Well,
they might have forgot who's first.
I think the first person, I think whoever tuned in on the video knew Pat Mahomes was going to be number 1.
Yeah, it's all right. And as he says, for Lamar Jackson, not bad for a running back.
Yeah.
But number 1, Super Bowl champion, Pat Mahomes. Is there any words? Is there? Really?
He's the one guy in the NFL where he's due a contract and you just let him pick the numbers himself.
Yeah, oh my God.
Sign whatever you want.
You give him the calculator and you just say, type it in, we'll sort it afterwards because it might put minus 50 million cap room. Oh, well.
Yeah, oh, well.
But no, honest to God, he's absolutely fantastic. Him and Andy Reid, perfect. Him on offense,
Tyreek Hill,
he drags his team through, though.
Does.
He's the reason. I mean, without him, Kansas maybe don't get a bye. Definitely.
No, well, we saw him when they had Alex Smith as their quarterback for a long time. They were kind of that good team, but they never could get over the hump. But this guy took them over the hump because of how good he is. 4,000 yards, passing 26 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. That was only in 14 games. He had a 76.3 QBR, an 11-3 record when he played. But the big thing with Mahomes is he threw 10 touchdowns in the postseason.
Exactly.
He was the postseason MVP. He was a Super Bowl MVP.
For me, the words that describe maybe him as well, but the Chiefs in general, resilient. They were down in every single game.
Every single game, yeah. Every single game they played.
Every single game they played in the postseason, they were down. And they could, when you're down, you rely on one man when you're an NFL team, and that is your quarterback. If you want a guy who can make plays, he's the man. Mm-hmm. And he did it all. He dragged his team to a Super Bowl. I don't want to say dragged because, to be fair,
The team's still very
the
good.
team's good. But I mean,
But the throws, I mean, they were losing 24-0 to the Texans,
exactly.
and he pulled him back, and I think he scored like 40-something unanswered points. Did the same to the Titans, and then the 49ers were already celebrating. I think they were 20-10 up.
Going into the final quarter.
7 minutes left.
Going into the final.
7 minutes, something like
going
that.
into the final quarter.
And Pat Mahomes drags it back and wins them the game.
He's one of them. They are never out of a game when they've got Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. And I'll be honest, that's the quarterback I want on my team.
This guy has the potential to be the best ever, and it's not even over exaggerating.
No, it's not.
His first full season threw 50 touchdowns and won MVP. Second season, he has a bit of aggression because he got injured a bit, but then he shows in the postseason why he's unbelievable. Wins the Super Bowl, and he's not even 25 yet, which is just ridiculous.
He's the best quarterback in the league by I don't want to say a mile because Lamar had a very good year, but there was no one that was taking the best quarterback in the league off Patrick Mahomes this year.
No way.
Not a chance. But as always, I'd like to thank you for joining us. We have ranked all the NFL quarterbacks this year, and I think we're general consensus. We were right, really.
Yeah.
Every single one we were right. But I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. If you are new to the Sports Corner, like, share, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. Thank you for everyone for tuning in last week. I hope you've come back this week. On Mondays on the Sports Corner, it's Team of the Week predictions. On Tuesday on the Sports Corner, it's the Wrestling Corner.
Yep.
Wednesdays, it's the Big Daddy, the Top Corner. Thursdays, it's the NFL Corner. Fridays, we like to maybe trinkle in a bit of Sports Day, but a few...
Still working on that.
Yeah,
to make it more
we're trying to figure out a way to sort it out, but I would like to thank everyone for joining us.
Join us next week for Free Agency Frenzy.
It
will be crazy.
I can't wait because I mean, this is an hour and 40. Good luck to next week's 5-hour free agency stream. But no, I'd like to thank you very much. I'd like to thank you, Will, for joining me.
Thanks for having me again.
And I'd like to thank everyone for joining me, Kieran and Will. See you next week.
See you later.